start doing this intro.
I'll do it. Boom, we're back. Welcome back to the Make It Mastermind podcast. This week we've got a different type of guest. I'm looking forward to this one. We've got Rob Lattibeaudiere, the number one mind coach from the north.
Mindset coach.
Mindset coach, there you go.
Yeah.
So Rob, do you want to give us a little intro about yourself? And what we'll do, we'll pick and ask you some questions from there.
Cool. Well, I'm Rob Lattibeaudiere, or Coach Rob, as some people call me. But what to start with? Where to start? I'm a mindset / life coach as such, but I don't like the terminology of life coach because it just conjures up images in people's heads. Some people love it, some people don't. Some people don't understand it. So I just say mindset coach, and it normally gets people asking questions. What is that? Rather than having a preconceived idea. About me, what do you want to know?
How did you get to become a mindset coach?
Wow.
What were you doing?
Big question. Yeah. Listen, my story starts when I was young. I didn't grow up in Leeds. I live in Leeds now, but I was born in Singapore. My parents were in the RAF and travelled around a bit, and then we came back to the UK because they wanted me and my brother to pretty much have a stable upbringing, and also to grow up in a bigger city. And we were based in Doncaster at the aircraft base then, and obviously they wanted to grow up in a bigger city, and especially back then Doncaster was even smaller than it is now, and they went to Leeds, and we went to a really rough part of Leeds at the time, Bramley, and kind of rough now, but it's back in the late 70s, early 80s, it was pretty freaking dire, and it was very racist, and they were the days of the skinheads and all that. Everybody was glue sniffing, all that sort of stuff. Excuse me. And I was this little black kid from a RAF background, quite well spoken in Bramley, in the 80s. It was like brutal.
What was that like then growing up? Was you a shy kid or?
No, I was always an outgoing, kind of gregarious kid, but growing up there and just being dropped in that environment was pretty freaking brutal because it was unknown to us. All of a sudden you got people Zeek-heiling and calling you Wog, Coon, this, that and the other. Cars would drive by, oh, you Coon, and all that stuff on the way to school. And I was in primary, and the high school kids would beat me up every day and stuff like that. And as you can see, I'm only a short ass, you know what I mean? And I wasn't big then. And so I was just brawling all the time and stuff. So it was a tough induction. And after a while, I started boxing as I got a little bit older, and I just took to it. I did really well, and I just loved it. But I was always a bit of an inquisitive kid anyway. I was always a reader. I was always in the books. My brother was more technical. He was more electronics and everything. I could probably wire a plug when he was very young. I still now would be like brown, green, I'm not sure. So I was always reading and studying and stuff. And then with the boxing, I kind of, at a certain level, as I was saying to you previous to this, I kind of got to a point where I was thinking, well, why is one boxer better than another? What separates these guys? And very quickly I realised it wasn't skill set, it was that mindset. And I was like, what's mindset? What's that all about? And in my day, there were no internet, there were no Google, there were no nothing. So Encyclopedia Britannica and all that stuff, and studied and read everything I could. And the environment I was in and the guys that I grew up with, tough, estate lads, when you're playing out with these kids when you're young, you can't say, I'm just going to go home and read some psychology and stuff, and they'd be like, get the fuck out of here, what are you talking about? So it was always a bit of a secret passion of mine. So I started studying all this stuff, and then I left school, and when I left school I just wanted to make money, probably because we didn't have any, and or I'd never had big money or any decent money at all, and so I just decided it's not for me, uni. I was always a bit of a class clown, to be fair, and it just wasn't for me, that kind of learning and that kind of education, the style of education, and I still don't think it would suit me even now. And I got a job, and I did really well in sales and stuff like that. And then I'm missing bits out here, but then I set up my own business quite young. Didn't have a clue what I was doing. We're up to mate in with me in mobile phones back in the early days when they were transportables. Most people listening to this probably won't even remember them. And that's before I had handheld portables, so that's how old I am. And it just took off because we wasn't really great at what we did because we weren't great business people, but we was in at the right time. And it went from that transition from business people having mobiles to individuals having mobiles, and all the prices for calls suddenly came down from like £1 something a minute to 50p a minute, and it became affordable. And it just took off, and we did really well, and that was going on. And I remember one day I went to a friend's house. It was only about 15 minutes away, but on the way I had to stop at another friend's house to pick something up, and he gave me a cassette tape. That's how long ago it was. And I put this cassette tape in my car, and it was Tony Robbins. And I'm sat in the car listening to this guy, and I'd never heard of anything. In them days, there were no coaches, there's no PTs, there were no coaches, there were no psychologists even. It was like the only thing we knew about psychologists was if you watched an American movie and it was someone said, I'm off to see my shrink, you know what I mean? And we were like, right, okay, but we're from Bramley in the 80s. There were you know, we didn't know anything about it. And it's not like now where everyone's a coach and everyone's a PT and there were none of that. So when I heard this tape with this Tony Robbins guy, I was like, Jesus, this is powerful. What? You know, I didn't know what public speaking was, you know, at that point. So I started studying all that stuff and got really into it. And I thought, wow, this is what I want to do. This was it. That was the turning point for me. And it was, I've always loved helping people through my boxing, through, you know, helping the young uns come through work, through business, and but I, more than the sales or the building of businesses, I just really loved helping people just develop, you know. So coaching was the natural next step. And when I heard this guy, I was like, I want to do that, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know what it is. I don't even know what it is I want. But I just, you know, he was speaking on stage in front of 10,000 people, and I was just like, I want to do that stuff. I want to inspire people and help people. But in my head, I had this massive limiting belief, and it was, but hold on, you just Rob from Bramley in Leeds, little black kid with no degree. Who the hell is going to pay you to tell them and help them overcome things and overcome psychological barriers and beliefs and things like that? It's just not going to happen. So I lived with that, and I carried on working and doing everything. And about 6 years after that, I went bankrupt. There's a lot to it, too much to go into, but just young and dumb really, and made bad decisions in the business, and the biz didn't really foresee the business changing. So mobile phones went in a different route. All the networks at the time, because I was in it before Orange existed, before there was no O2, it was BT Cellnet them days and all that stuff. And as it started to change and evolve and adapt, and Orange came along and all the rest of it, they decided, how come we've got all these shops, like, you know, we had shops, and how come we've got shops selling for us when we could just open our own? So almost overnight, they just had a rollout program, and that's why now you just see network shops everywhere, like O2, Orange, Vodafone, all that sort of stuff. And there's hardly any independents left. In fact, I don't think there's any, apart from the big boys like Carphone Warehouse and all that. And Charlie Dunstan, who owns Carphone Warehouse, I remember him when he first started out, and he was literally Carphone warehouse, like little warehouses that fit car phones, and that was it. And now he's a corporate monster, you know. So anyway, things changed, went bankrupt, and that was kind of like a real lesson for me about human behaviour. All of a sudden, you know, before that, I was invited to all the openings of bars and clubs and restaurants. You know, I was VIP in it around Leeds. I was well known. And then all of a sudden, phone stops ringing. It's like you're a social leper. You know, you've got no money. And I very quickly realised that when you're up here, when you're on top, everybody's your friend. But as soon as shit hits the fan, all of a sudden it's like, see you later. You know, nobody wants to know. And you're picking up your phone, looking at it, going, is it broken? It used to ring all the time, this thing. You know, look, we've been sat here 2 minutes, it's popping off like crazy. Whereas when you're not doing so well, I guess, people kind of don't want to know, do they? And I hit a low point then, and it was that was a tough time for me. And I remember ringing a friend of mine up to lend a tenner for get some milk and bread and stuff, and from having mercs and houses and all this stuff. So it was a really, really tough time. And then I kind of got over the pity party and just said, listen, pull your shit together. And I just, had to get a job, and I started to work my way back. And kind of cut a long story short, one time I was working for a company, I was building teams and getting myself back again, trying to get over this bankruptcy and thing and build some money back and credit back. And as I was building the teams, I said, there was a seminar on, and I said, I'm going to take the teams there, the sales guys and everything, and it'll be really good for them to get some motivation and help from this guy. And it was a 3-day course, and it was over by Manchester way. So we went over there, and the guy blew us away. And it was like, I was like, oh my God, to my colleagues close to me, I need to speak to this guy. It went back to the Tony Robbins thing and all that. And this was someone that accessible I could get to, because Tony Robbins is in America and he's multi-millionaire and all that. Well, this guy is here. And so I spoke to him, cut long story short, we did some stuff together, and then he was the one really, was the catalyst for me, who kind of unlocked this limiting belief I had about myself, and said to me, listen, you're a great speaker, you can do this, you've been studying all this psychological stuff and courses you've been on and everything for the last 15 years. You've got everything, you just need to do it, And I was like, but me, really? And he was the one who really unlocked it for me. And then started doing some stuff with him and learned loads of stuff, about human behavior and body language and mindset and the brain and how it works and what it does, how it works against us, but more importantly, how you can make it work for you and all this sort of stuff. And then I just dived in, and I didn't actually at first. I was sort of kind of part-time, sticking a toe in sort of thing. And then the business that I was in, again, the government moved the goalposts on some stuff, and it kind of killed the industry, because we was in solar panels at the time. And that's why you don't see as many solar panels going up now, because it's all about feed-in tariffs and stuff. But it killed the industry a little bit. And I was at a point where I was thinking, I'd not been happy in selling and stuff like that for the last 10 years. And because this was going down, it was like, right, do you get another job? You can go on, probably make 50, 60k a year or something and be comfortable. Or do you take this chance and say, do you know what? Let's just go for it. And I spoke to my partner and I just said, what do you think? And, she earns decent money, and it was, we can scrape by, we'll do it. I said, it could take a couple of years to build this thing. And I just went in, and now I'm here, and it built and built. But the first year or so was horrendous, and it was making mistakes, getting it wrong, not knowing why. And I talked to my coach at the time, because I believe everyone should have a coach, and every coach should have a coach. You can't sell your services if you walk by someone else's, I believe. And it was him who said, you're not being congruent, you're not being true to yourself, because I was in sharp suits and, briefcase, all that, glasses on and that. And he says, you remind me actually of, oh God, it's gone from me, I can't believe it. The black newsreader, the old guy,
Trevor McDonald.
And I was just laughing. He went, you remind me of Trevor McDonald. What are you coming across like that for? Just be you, be Rob, Rob, where's your caps? You know what I mean? Because I always wear a cap. And I was like, well, it's not very professional, is it? You've got to, look, because I'm old school, everyone had suits and stuff. So it was like, nah, he said, just be you. People just want to know that you're real and that they don't give a shit what you look like. And I quickly learned that it wasn't really about the colour of my skin. It wasn't about background and all that. They just wanted to know, if you know what you know, can you help me go from where I am to where I want to be? And that was it. And once I got that full belief in myself, I just started to be like this and just be me and be the true, authentic me. I swear every now and then and stuff like that, instead of trying to pronounce all my H's and T's and stuff when I'm just a Yorkshire lad, who knows a bit about the brain, And when I had that true belief, when I really got it, it just took off from there. And, I've got clients 10 different countries now and all over the UK, and things are going really, really well. And now I'm going to next level. I've got a new coach now who's in Australia, who's really catapulted my business over the last 6 months, and the plans I've got for the next year scare me to death, but that's where I need to be. I need to have that growth and that, you know, that fear in me to buzz, really, to get me out of bed in the morning, you know. And but it's been a journey, and that's been over the last 6 or 7 years. But I started late. I literally lost 20 years because of one sentence, one limiting belief. I'm just Rob from Bramley and Leeds. And that story I tell to a lot of my clients, because it helps them to understand that whatever limiting beliefs you've got, whatever doubts you've got, whatever fears you've got, are just a construct of your mind. That's all they are. They're not normally born out of any reality, because if you want something bad enough and you're prepared to work for it and you're prepared to graft and learn and fail and try again, that's it. I did a post the other day about failure, and it's not that there's failure, because there is no failure if you learn, because that's not a failure, is it? You've learned a lesson. But you only fail when you give up. So if you keep going and you keep learning and keep trying, the human brain has the capacity to achieve unbelievable things that most people can't even grasp about themselves. You know, they just can't believe that they can do these things. And you know, I've had the pleasure, the opportunity, whatever you want to call it, to work with so many, you know, hundreds of people in different countries, different places, and ultimately human beings are pretty much the same. Our brains are millennia years old, so we all think the same, and it doesn't matter about, you know, if you're in New Zealand or America or Greece or wherever. I've had clients, you know, they all have the same issues, they all have the same problems. It's all the same, stems from the same place. And those limiting beliefs, those things that are holding them back, which is a speciality area of mine. I work on lots of other things. I have relationship coaching, so I work with couples. I work with sports people, a lot of sports people, and mostly small business, small, medium-sized businesses, helping them take it to the next level and stuff like that. But all these problems are all a construct of the mind that are in the head, and a lot of people just have this doubt, you know, this niggling doubt, and I believe everybody's got a small piece of it in some area of their life. And I just want to help them unlock it because of my story, because I was just Rob from Bramley and Leeds, started amount to not hell of a much, and didn't think I could do this, and then just by someone slightly changing my perspective, all of a sudden I'm, you know, phone's blowing up even now. All of a sudden, you know, I've got people contacting me from all over the world wanting to do stuff, and now I want to take those dreams and goals on to the next level.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I've had one question it pinged in my mind was, you said, you know, it doesn't really matter where limiting beliefs come from, but or does it matter where it comes from, or does it just matter how you address it?
It matters how you address it. They come from all over, don't they? And it's all based on, you know, things like socioeconomic background and you know, God, there's a plethora of things where it can come from. You know, people have been abused as kids. People have had poor upbringings. I've had people who've had really privileged upbringings, and that holds them back. And people don't understand that, and they go, "Why? Well, he's had everything." But a lot of people have got negative beliefs about that. Because of that, they feel that they should be up here, they should be achieving something huge because they've had this really privileged upbringing and gone to private school and this and that and everything else. Whereas, you know, that doesn't matter either. You know, none of it matters. What it is, like you said, is it's how you address it. It's your mindset, and it all come back to mindset again. You can achieve and be and do anything that you want to do. And we've all read and heard of many fantastic stories from people that have achieved crazy stuff from being in a really low place or a weird place at first, and then they're doing this, and you think, wow, what drove you to get there? And that's what always fascinates me, the human behavior, why we do what we do and how we overcome things. And there's loads of people, I could think of 50 names now of famous stories and of people doing creative stuff. David Goggins is it David? Is it David?
Yeah, it's
Probably, yeah. I listened to his podcast the other day.
Yeah, Goggins, yeah. Anyway, but people have seen him, big fat guy and all that, and the next minute he's running all over the bloody world. You know.
Pull up record and all that stuff.
Yeah, crazy stuff he does. And he just had a switch in perception and mindset, and off he went. So it doesn't really matter about background, though.
All right, cool.
Yeah. Well,
Nice.
do you know what, on that, with limited beliefs, one that I've had, and it's kind of funny, I caught myself having this limited belief from reading a book. It was the Akala book. and he talks about how when he was a young kid he'd go into a shop and keeping his hands, like, make sure his hands wasn't in his pockets so it wouldn't look like he was stealing, and because of what he thought the situation was. And when I was a kid, it was the same thing. Like, reflecting upon that, I remember doing the same thing. I thought, wow, that's actually stupid. But these limiting beliefs, how does one catch those? Is it literally, how do they know you've got a limiting belief without
Hey, that's a good question. Sometimes people don't. Simple answer. Sometimes people don't, and they they come to me, and then you realise through the work I do with them that they've got this massive limiting belief. But yeah, great question, and I've never been asked that before, but quite often people don't, and I would say as far as 70% of clients don't realise, or some might know they've got limiting belief, but they don't realise the depth to what that belief is. There's a surface level, and then, without getting too technical, there's 3 or 4 levels deeper that it really affects them. But there's a lot of people out there walking around now that have a limiting belief but don't actually know that they've got that limiting belief. They don't know.
I think someone's like...
Had a little shortcut off there. So we're talking about limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned people will come to you, and what are some of the limiting beliefs that you find are very common within people? Like the one that I see a lot of people knock themselves down because, like you say, looking at themselves, oh, it's only me, I'm little, what can I achieve? And to a degree myself, I've been like that to myself, and it's only over the last sort of 2 to 3 years. I'd say you as well, we've start to get into books, sort of personal growth, Tony Robbins. There's a lot of material out there that people can access on YouTube, Audible, books.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
But what do you find are the common things? If there's such things.
Common, is that the word? Some of the main ones is literally just, I'm not good enough, I'm not bright enough. It depends on the individual, because it can be, I'm not tall enough, I'm not small enough, I'm not fast enough, I'm not fit enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not pretty enough, and it's just that voice in your head that whatever that most dominant thought process is, that usually leads to be your limiting belief. But usually for people, if there is a usually, is a feeling of lack in their ability.
Okay, and what kind of ingrains that into people though? Is it seeing small parts of other people being successful and not seeing a bigger picture of their actual life? Like, I could look at, successful mindset coach, don't see anything else. Like, fuck, I wish I was a successful mindset coach, but I only see you for this window.
Yeah. And don't see the
people that have the critical view of this guy might have grafted, he might have struggled, he'd gone through hardship, learned, grown, failed, done it all again, redo that cycle. Like, is that a big problem for people nowadays, especially with social media? Massively, because there's a distorted view of success. You know what I mean? So people's preconceptions, you just pick up your phone, don't you, and you look at it, and there's success all over it, or perceived success. And with social media, you can look like $1 million, and live in a 2 up, 2 down with no car and no job. But if you take the photos right, you can look brilliant, So I think that affects people a hell of a lot. But I always try and get people to think, listen, forget that, that's just pity party, and get them over that. But a lot of these limiting beliefs are usually stem from even maybe a little bit earlier than that. It's usually somewhere at school, or again, socioeconomic background, parents, how you've been brought up, your circle of influence. I say to a lot of my clients, proximity is power. So who you're around on a regular basis, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend most time with, all these kind of things. Massively important, massively. The guys I grew up with, bless them, love them, hardcore, they were the crew, and, we used to, in those days, we would be in Leeds City Centre fighting every week, because it was that racist. People won't even remember, we talk about, it was us guys paving the way for other young black kids and kids of colour to be able to walk safely in Leeds City Centre. People can't remember. On a Saturday afternoon, you couldn't go to the bottom end of town, where the train station is and all that. You couldn't go there. You just couldn't. It was just a no-go zone. You'd be getting slashed or whatever.
So we used to get a whole team together, and we'd go and we'd meet in like the Bond Street Centre and have a big brawl with all these guys, and it was kind of weird. After a while, you got to know some of them, and you'd have a drink with them in the club a week later or something. But it was crazy. But you know, depending on your background, depending on your upbringing, these limiting beliefs can creep in anywhere. And you know, I had a client who didn't even particularly get bullied at school. She was a little bit plump, but she was quite normal. You know, I looked at the photographs, pretty much normal. But the kind of cool kids, the cool girls, used to sort of just pick on her a little bit in PE and stuff. Not physically, just verbally, just a few words. But that was it, but it stuck with her. And when she left, she never went to a gym or anything. She associated that with the gym. So that was her neuro association, right? So never went to the gym, got to 32 years of old, ballooned up to a massive size, and the first things that were coming out of her mouth when I was talking to her was, I hate the gym and I hate green shit. And by green shit, she meant fruit and veg and stuff, right? And then the doctor told her, you know, you got high blood pressure, you get into morbidly obese and all this, it's dangerous for you now and all you need to. And she'd been to counsellors and PTs and stuff to lose weight, but she just hated it and she couldn't do it. And she came to me and I pretty much sorted her out in 2.5 months. And I had to go back to find out where the limiting belief came from about exercise training, fitness and all the rest of it, address that, and then she took off. But then find her stuff that's going to resonate with her and stuff that she'll enjoy. She's never been in a gym, a proper gym, since she left school. Never, you know, so she wouldn't go to one. So the other people who tried to help her had no chance. So I just went the other way and unlocked all that stuff and then found stuff she was interested in. Then she started going somewhere that was like a non-impact aerobic training, like a swimming pool, and doing all this stuff. And then she met people there who were similar to her and a similar size and all that, and she loved it and started to find friends and get on with them. And then she found a boyfriend, so she stopped being a bit of a recluse in her house and came out, and her whole world's changed. And she was saying to me, you're like God, you know what I mean? And I said, I'm not. All I did is change the way you think, and that's all it is. It's just changing perspective. So limiting beliefs and perspectives go hand in hand. Your perception is what fucks up most people, because your perception's skewed. The subconscious mind cannot differentiate between what's real and imagined. It doesn't know the difference. So if we perceive the same scene, it's real. Even if we perceive it differently. So the same scene's in front of us, but we perceive it differently. Another example, client was saying how, about perception, when we were working on perception, she was saying how, she says, oh, I've got a great example of that, how it works. And I said, what? And she says that she was taking her young daughter to community centre, and she's like 12, 13, whatever. And in the back of the car, she had a friend of hers who was taking her daughter too. And as they've come round the corner, they've seen a police van outside the community centre. And she said, straight away in my head, I thought, oh, the police are there, should be safe now, right? And as I thought it, she said, my friend in the back at the exact same time said, the police are there, it looks dangerous. So that's a perfect example of perception. Exactly the same view, no difference, but two polar opposite thought processes about what it means, right? But neither of them's wrong, because they believe it, it's right? And it's based on, again, maybe their upbringing, their background, socioeconomic things, all the rest of it. Maybe one of them's got a police officer in the family, so she feels comfortable. Maybe one of them's been nicked by the police, or a friend's been nicked. There's a million things that it could be, but that's their belief: safe, danger, and they will live. And then it affects from belief, from thought processes. Then it goes to behaviour. So that then affects behaviour. So she'll make a decision based on that. Maybe the kid now doesn't get to have a fun evening out at the community centre because of her behaviour. Now I'm going home. Or the other one stays, and the other one's a bit nervous all the time because she's picking up on her mum's behaviour and thinking it's dangerous. And it's things like that that can affect us all based on our perception of life, even though outside of here now is the world, and or let's say Leeds, and we are all from here, but our perception of it is different, right? Just because of our background. Like, you guys wouldn't have remembered the days when there was brawls in Leeds every week, and hundreds of people walking up the street going Sieg Heil and all that, and there were loads of black guys throwing weapons and missiles down at them and stuff. You don't remember that, so your view of things is different. And this is why sometimes you get problems with people who might say, oh, that guy's got a chip on his shoulder, or this guy acts this way, when someone said something not even racist, just a bit of a joke, right? But if they've had a different background, their perception is who you're talking to. Now they want to brawl, whereas maybe a younger person of colour might go, yeah, that's funny, because they've had a different upbringing. You know, they didn't have an upbringing where comedians on BBC was telling black jokes all the time, and it was normal, and everybody just thought it was normal. So it's perception, isn't it? So, and again, I still don't allow people to have a pity party about it. It doesn't, you know, it's done, it's over, move on, that's in the past. Past doesn't exist. So it's about changing perspective and saying, okay, what about today though? So whatever my age, my height, my background, my skin colour, whatever, my religion, doesn't matter. If you want to achieve something, it's down to you. You've got 2 arms, 2 legs and a head, get on with it. What do we have to do to make that happen? And let's work on that. And that's what we do.
Yeah. So when you're talking, it sounds like, you know, the world will happen to you, but then, and you feel like you're probably in control, but really your subconscious is so deep rooted and hardwired that that's where your real reactions come from. Yeah. And before you really realise, you've already reacted and moved and changed and gone into a certain direction.
Yeah.
And that, do you think people live their lives in autopilot, like maybe 80% of the time? Yeah. Is that massive, a real thing then?
Yeah.
Where people
reactive.
They wake up and they're 50 and they're like, oh fuck, I fucked it. What have I done?
Yeah.
And he's like, it's a common thing.
Nail on the head, mate. You know what I mean? It's they're reactive to life, and I'm writing a book at the moment, and it may be called A Twig in the Stream, but you know what? Publishers are like, they'll probably say, shit, stop it, you're not having that. But yeah, fuck 'em, I'll have it anyway. But the reference of that comes from, if you drop a twig in a stream, we kind of all know intellectually that it just bobs along with the current, doesn't it? And if it gets to a fork in the stream, it'll just go where the current's slightly strongest, right? And I reference that to human nature and human beings. You know, we're like twigs in the stream. You know, we react to life, or most of us do. We're reactive. So, we get up in the morning, go about our business, we go to work, we come home, we eat dinner, we go to bed, we get up, and we pretty much do that. And then the boiler goes, and you go, oh, fuck, I need to find £1,000 to fix the boiler, or the car breaks down, shit, I need to get that sorted, I ain't got it, you know, whatever it is. Oh, my wife's left me, oh, I'm depressed, what am I going to do now? My life was all about her and didn't think about me, and now I've got nothing, I've no fulfillment, I've no nothing. We react to life, and it's a bit like a twig in the stream. And what I always sort of allude it to is, what I do is essentially get people to kind of develop a metaphorical awe. And when the stream is taking you down here, but you really want to go over there, and you just say, no, I'm going to go against the current, and I'm going to go this way. And it's learning to, again, just have that little perception shift and direct your life where you want to go, and not just go, like you said, where you're bobbing along and then you wake up 55 and go, fuck, how did I get here? And then you either have a mental breakdown, or you leave your wife, or you do what people call a midlife crisis, you buy a Ferrari and pull an 18-year-old or whatever. You know, these are knee-jerk reactions to not being happy or fulfilled in your life, you know, because you've allowed your life to just plod on and not take control of your life, essentially.
Yeah. How important is it to develop stuff like mindfulness? Is everywhere now. It's like, be mindful, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. But how important is it to actually be able to take that bit of time where if something happens to you, or you see something happening, you're in that state of, you can clock it, you can pick it up, you can see that, I'm doing that. You know what I mean? If you're in a calmer state generally,
you can realise that you're feeling a bit stressed.
You can see where things are going off path sooner than when it becomes like this big fucking problem.
Absolutely. I think you know what, that shit should be taught in schools, and I've been saying it for ages. There are some countries playing around with this right now, and it's great. And certain people, I think even in the UK, might have tried it a bit, but we're sort of stuck with the education system how it is. But mindfulness and all that kind of stuff should be taught to kids, because it's almost like the horse has bolted when you're dealing with a 50-year-old, you know what I mean? But with kids are so adaptable, you know, they'll just, okay, they go with anything that you tell them. And this sort of stuff, you know, just isn't done enough. I've got 3 or 4 big goals that that I call my long-term goals, and one of them is to build like a charitable centre for inner city kids or young adults, I'm not bothered, but where they learn about mindfulness, they learn about limiting beliefs, they learn about how to overcome them, how mindset affects them, how perception shifts work and stuff like that. Not just a community centre where they play table tennis and all that and they hang out. They've all done that, you know, it doesn't work. But where you actually teach them to be able to understand their brain and understand the decisions that they're making and how to overcome these things and these thoughts they're having, so that they can make better decisions in life and not go down the wrong track. Not when the mate's saying to them, look, come here, you can do this and you can make $1,000 in a week, mate, you know what I mean? So they can make that mindful decision and go, do you know what? I can already see where this is going. I can see this in 6 months, a year, 2 years, where I'm going to be. And just go, do you know what? No, I'm going to take that long route. Because a lot of kids now, when I talk to them, they just go, nah, man, that's a long thing. You know what I mean? That's a long thing working. My man's making 10 G's in a month, mate. You know what I mean? You know, and all this stuff. So they've been conditioned by their socioeconomic background and their upbringing. So they need help to combat that. And schools ain't doing enough. They can't do it. And listen, I'm not beating up on teachers and stuff, because resources and everything else and that. But yeah, mindfulness should be taught. It's a massive thing, and definitely people need the skills to be able to nip it in the bud, as you said, and catch it, because people don't even know it's happening when it's happening.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it kind of links, I guess, to emotional intelligence as well. Like we've had quite a lot of chat about that, and I've read a book by Daniel Goleman, Emotional Intelligence, and I don't know, I think that's something that's kids are slowly losing as well, with being able to understand their own emotions and emotions in social situations. People don't know how to act anymore. People on the phones, people can't have a conversation, and it's affecting, I think it's going to affect the younger generation quite a lot. So we're becoming more emotionally intelligent. What are some of the things that you implement into people's, I guess, routine, or with the mind coaching? How do you help people get over these limited beliefs?
My way of working is quite bespoke, so it depends on the individual and depends what the limiting belief is. I have different programs, but there's a main program that I have with most people. But ultimately, a lot of it's just what I say, and it's about targeting them and then giving them a few tips and stuff. There's the basic stuff like get up in the morning, you know, exercise and all that, which is great for mental health and stuff like that. But limiting beliefs is about finding that individual's trigger. What is their thing? What is it? And most people can do it for themselves. It's just about really sitting quietly and just really playing back through your life and looking at stuff and going, what are you scared of? And literally looking in the mirror and saying to yourself, what am I scared of? You know, what is holding me back? Why can't I develop this business? Why can't I take it on? I've got one client who turns over 6.5 million, and everyone on the surface would think, fuck, this guy's doing great. Why does he need you? My friends, you know, when I talk to him, they'll say, why does he need you? You know, he's making more money than you are, you know, and they don't understand it's because he wants to go to 25 million, but he can't, because his belief is that he's at the peak of where he's good enough. Is his words. I'm not good enough to be any further. Now anyone like us with working class backgrounds and stuff, we look at a guy like that, 6.5 million turnover with a great profit as well, you go, you're not good enough. Jesus, what does that say about me? You know, if that's in his head, it's real. So what I'll do is start working with him to unlock and find what's that thing that's made that belief there. And once you find it, then it's about making him refute that thought process, and then through what I call immersion, you immerse them into this world of where he wants to be. So I start to immerse him in that world of, you know, guys doing really well, you know, and it might be listening to podcasts, it might be reading books about that kind of leader, that kind of person who's at 30 million, 50 million, 100 million, and seeing how they think, how they feel, what they do, and just getting him to believe. And once you've had that belief in there and you've refuted the old thought process, all of a sudden it's like a door opens and they just fly. There's a bit more to it, obviously, but it's about just reprogramming. It's only the brain, you know, and the brain does this to us, and it's that disconnect between the subconscious and the conscious is crazy, you know. And as I think one of you alluded to before, it's a subconscious that runs us, not a conscious. Consciously, people can look at their limiting beliefs and say, I know it's ridiculous, but, and that's what everyone says to me, I know it's ridiculous, but, and then that's their belief. And it's the subconscious that's playing, that's in charge at the moment, not the conscious. If the conscious mind was in charge, we'd all be fine. I'd be out of a job, you know, because, well, nobody'd smoke. Everybody intellectually knows it's sensible, isn't it, to train 3 times a week. You know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, do an hour. You'd probably live a year longer. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So intellectually, we know it's right. Intellectually, we know it's right to eat fruit and veg. You know, just standard. You don't have to have a bodybuilder's lifestyle. Just fruit and veg. You know, have a bit in every meal. Go training. Get to sleep. Get 8 hours sleep a night. If you did all that and drunk a load of water every day, you'd probably live 3 to 5 years longer. But why don't we all do it? Because we're run by our subconscious. We're a twig in the stream. We're not run by a conscious mind. Because intellectually, we all know this. But if it was down to intellect, down to our conscious minds, we'd all be fine. But we're not. So you have to find the deep-rooted thing and then break that. Once you break that, then it's about building them back up. Then it's about building habits after that, because in the brain there's things called dendrites, and there's a lot more to it than just that. But they're neural pathways, which are basically habits. So you guys in the morning, you will have a habit. You know how you could tell me now what your routine is to get in work tomorrow or whatever. You know, brush your teeth, how you get dressed, even to the point of how you put, which leg you put in your trousers first. You go right, yeah, you're nodding, you know, you go right, and then your leg, then you put your right. So we've got these pathways that we follow. That's why I think it was you who said before that people wake up and then next minute they're 50. Because we do it first thing in the morning. So now we could have a chat and go, right, I'm gonna change my life. Or people listening to this right now are gonna go, do you know what? That guy's making some sense. I'm gonna change my life. I'm gonna go for that thing. I'm gonna make it happen. And in the morning, they're gonna wake up and they're gonna get out of bed. They're gonna be tired and they're gonna go in the bathroom. They're gonna do their thing. They're gonna come out. They're gonna get changed. And it's routine down to even what's the routine of the routine. Do you eat your breakfast before you get changed?
No.
See what I mean? You know, don't you?
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
exactly, yeah.
Some people wake up first thing, black coffee. I want a coffee, or I want a this, or a... They don't. Some people don't have breakfast. Some people go out and it's a coffee mocha wakachina from bloody wherever. You know what I mean? Right? So we've got routines. So you get into this routine, then you get to work or your business or whatever, or if you're not working, and you do your thing, and then after work you come home and you still got these ideas, oh, I'm going to change things, and you get in home and you've got a routine. So you put your bag down, you get changed, or you don't get changed, whatever your routine is. You get a coffee, you go sit down, you put on Sky Sports News or Corrie or whatever you're into. And then before you know it, day's gone. Before you know it, week's gone. Before you know it, month's gone. You haven't lived up to your dreams. And it's the same as people who want to exercise but don't really like the gym. So their thought process, their dominant thought process, I freaking hate the gym, but I want to be fit, right? A lot of people say to me, fuck me, Rob, look at you, you look awesome for your age, right? And I'm 51, by the way, right?
Yeah, you do look awesome for your age.
We haven't talked about age, but... So people go, Jesus, you look great, I want to look like you. No, they don't, right? Deep in their subconscious, they don't. In their intellectual mind, your conscious mind, which you're using right now, with your conscious mind, you use your 5 senses, or some people say there's more, but we won't get into it. But 5 senses, sight, sound, taste, touch. You know. So you're using it right now to listen to me. Consciously, you could look at me and go, I want to look like that. But subconsciously, you're saying, I don't want to do what he has to do to look like that, though. I can't be bothered. And the brain, fundamentally, and again, before people ring in and start, you know, who's doing psychology or anything like that, there's a lot more to it than this. But fundamentally, the brain wants to, from you getting up in the morning to going to bed at night, wants to avoid pain and go towards pleasure. and it's just doing a lot of things to help you do that. So if you say, I want to look like you, Rob, I want to get fit and I want to be ripped and I want to be this, but your subconscious is, your thoughts, your main thoughts is, but Jesus, I don't want to train 6-7 days a week, and I don't want to have to carry food around and lean food and everything and drink just water all the time. So it's a painful thought process. It's a negative thought process. So the brain goes, I don't like this. So it starts to get creative, and it starts talking to you, and it starts saying, Psst, John, it's Wednesday. There's no point starting today. We'll do it on Monday. Let's leave it for now. And then we forget it. And then by Monday, as we all know, Monday never comes, right? And you don't do it. And then 6 months later, you get that pang again. I want to get fit. And this whole thing starts again. And that's what happens. That's why every year in January, you see all the gyms are full, because everyone's got that New Year resolution. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it happen. But you cannot change behavior by just changing behavior without changing the thought process. I'm going to say that again. You cannot change behavior by just changing behavior without changing your thought process. You can't. You can force it, and you can use willpower, and there is a small percentage of people who might be able to do it. But to have lasting and comfortable change, you have to change the way you think about the problem. So if it was a training thing, for example, I had a client, I'd get them in, and first of all, I'd talk about training. I'd get them to Google it. I'd get them to Google foods and understand about healthy foods and what the foods you're eating, the bad foods, if you're overweight, what is it actually doing to you? Get them to Google it now. It's brilliant. It's not like in my day when you had to get an Encyclopedia Britannica. Now you could get, I bet on YouTube there's videos that will show, if you eat, I don't know, a cream cake, it'll show where it's going when it goes inside you and how it's getting pushed out into the veins, and arteries are getting filled up, clogged up with crap and all the rest. And once you start to understand that every time you eat, now the association of eating some fatty foods is different. Because as it goes in, you know now, this is clogging up my arteries, this is doing this is doing that. And it just adds to it a little bit, makes it easier to make that change process. Then if you start understanding about exercise and what it does for you and how your lung capacity gets bigger and you can just feel fitter, I can play with the kids for longer, I can be around for my kids for longer, I can do my job better, I feel a lot more awake and alive. I always feel tired and lethargic. Half our country is tired. You could go into any establishment, a Starbucks or a library, and say, get on a check table and go, put your hands up in here if you're tired. And I bet everyone in the room would put their hands up, right? Right? You know? So we're all tired, we're all lethargic, we're all fucked basically. But the conscious mind knows it's not good, knows what to do about it, but isn't doing it. So there's some kind of belief that's holding them back, and it might just be with some people, I can't be bothered, and it's not that strong enough. And that's why I always say to people who come to me, people only come to me when the pain of change overcomes the pain of staying the same. When the pain of change overcomes the pain of staying the same. Because as humans, we learn to live with the things that are wrong with us. We learn to live with the pain of the thought process of, I'm not tall enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not fast enough, I'm never going to be successful, I'm always going to live in this council house, I'm always going to live in this area, I'm never going to be able to get. And we say these things over and over to ourselves. So you build a dendrite, which is a habit, right? So that becomes your what we call your self-image. That's what you believe about yourself. And mine was, I'm just Rob from Bramley and Leeds, which stayed with me for nearly 20 years. 20 years, one sentence. And there was no basis to it whatsoever. Because coaching, as you know, it's like anything, it's just knowledge and talking. Now I could talk and I can learn. But I told myself I can't because I'm just Rob from Bramley and Leeds. So my subconscious went, okay, we'll stop that. So am I ever going to wake up? Remember we talked about changing habits? Am I going to wake up in the morning then and go, after having that thought process every day, am I going to wake up one day and go, right, let me start putting together a website for my coaching? Because my subconscious is going to say, why are you doing that? What's the point? Am I going to start, let me do an Instagram channel and a Facebook one for coaching? When you don't believe anyone's going to come to you, why would you do that? So you don't. So you put it off and off, but you keep reading and studying and learning, and you think one day I might, and you don't. And it wasn't until, like I said, someone came along, did a little perception shift and changed things for me, that made me go, oh. And it was like someone opened a door. It was just like, what? I can do it. I can. Me. People would listen. And then bang, you're doing it, and the rest. And I still have it myself, and this is how bad it is, you know. And I've got massive goals and dreams. One of them is to stand on First Direct Arena in Leeds and have, 5,000 people in there and doing a seminar of some kind, and that still scares the shit out of me, And I do public speaking all over the place, but 300 people to 5,000 people, it's just a different thing. But I try and tell myself, use my own techniques. It's just a couple of zeros. It's no big deal, But again, you think there's a little bit in there that just says, are you really that, big? Can you be that good? But if you'd have told me 2 years ago I'd be coaching people in Alaska, I'd say, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? And it just happens because you keep doing what you're doing, and you change that process. You get better at what you do. You fail, you learn, you fail, you learn, and you keep moving on, and you take the knocks. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there who don't want to do that as well. They just haven't got the grit, and the strength to do that, the mindset to do it. So that's where mindset comes into it. It's about giving you that mental strength and grit to be able to go through it. When I first started on Instagram, if you go back on my Instagram now and check it, there's some of my early ones, I had 2 likes, and 3 likes. And it took about 2 or 3 years, if I remember. I think I was on there in 2013 when nobody was on Instagram hardly. And, 3 or 4 likes. But I kept going and just kept going and kept going and kept going. Now 60% of my business comes from Instagram. And even other coaches, when I'm at seminars and stuff, they can't believe it. Because there's hardly any life coaches that make a living off Instagram. They don't understand it. So with me, with the business people I help and stuff as well, I help them with Instagram and stuff because I've learned a lot about it over the years because I've had to. And no one taught me. I just did it. I learned by doing and understanding the algorithms and how all that works. And I just did it. Just like you guys with this, we were talking before about podcasts, and I told you, I'm starting a podcast of my own. I ain't got a clue, I ain't got a clue how to edit, I ain't got a clue how to, but I understand the brain, and I understand I've got a growth mindset, and I know that if I practice and do it and listen and learn, you get better. And everyone listening to this now, if somebody's listening now and thinking, I want to start a business, or I want to do this, or I want to do that, and I can't, you can. Just reach out, just ask. And there'll be someone who knows what that business that you want to do, who would help you and give you a bit of advice, and just take one step and another, and before you know it, you'll be 2 years down the line looking back going, Jesus. A funny story I used to tell some of my clients is, I used to say to my partner, when I had 2 clients and I was still working and I was with the clients part-time, and I say, I can't wait until I've got 5 clients in a week. And I work 7 days now, but I just wanted Monday to Friday, 1 a day. And I thought that'd be cool, make a little bit of extra money, but also I'll be a proper coach, and I'll be, coaching people. 5 clients. I just want to get to 5 because I'd get 2 and then 3 and then the first one would drop off and then I'd be back to 2 and all this. And I just wanted 5. And that was my goal. And like now, some days I'll have 7 in a day on a Saturday. You know what I mean? And you think, Jesus, how did I get here? And to me, I've just done what I've always done. I'm still the same guy, but you get better and you just keep learning and growing. But the main thing is consistency. People want to know that you're still there. People are watching you from afar. There's people on my Instagram now who liking my stuff who will probably be a client in a year. But you've got to be here in a year. So like you guys with this, you've just got to be still here. And if you're still here and you're still doing it and the work gets bigger and your name gets bigger, all of a sudden you look back and go, Jesus, do you remember when we was just doing that with a few little Now we're like Tom Bailey or someone or Grant Cardone or something. You know what I mean? It's just how it is. But it's having that belief and drive to just keep going when certain forces are inside you going, oh, we're not good for this. We're not good enough. We're not articulate enough. maybe we don't ask the right questions, maybe we're not funny enough or charismatic enough, and it all starts playing on you, and it's just bullshit. It's bullshit.
Yeah, it's crazy that the monkey brain, they call it, don't they? It's perception is absolutely everything. I mean, like you said, when we started the podcast, we had all kinds of stupid thoughts. You know, we don't want to post a picture, we don't want to show our faces. What people at work gonna think, what our friends gonna think, and
who do you think you are?
Yeah, that's it.
Exactly.
But then really, in
someone said it to us point blank, didn't they? It was like,
and kind
didn't even know the fuck which one you were. Like, even with the voices, like, until we got here, we'd never seen a picture. We don't know which ones were who, and we had so many dumb things. Like, it's like, oh, I'm gonna put it on my personal Instagram, and I was like, yeah, no one gives a fuck. No one cares. It doesn't matter. Like, it's not a big deal, and I don't know. It's kind of crazy. But you know what? To go back to what you were saying, and kind of to give you a bit of background on the podcast was, people will help you, and people think that, you know, they won't. And it's kind of sad because we set up this podcast off the back of where we grew up. Like, I grew up in Bradford. Julian came over from Mauritius, like we were telling you before we kicked off this show. And we was like, how do you grow a network of people? Like, we was thinking, like, you can't just ask people to do something and they'll just tell you everything. I was like, oh, let's just set up a podcast and we'll just invite people in to talk about themselves and talk to us, and maybe that'll work. And that's what we wanted to do. It's kind of like a live.
I bet people did help you, didn't they?
Big time.
Everyone wants to help you. It's crazy. It's so crazy. Like Jody Hill, Neil, King Kobe, everyone. I swear, everyone who comes in here will sit around before or after, and they tell us all sorts. Like, everyone's come in and they want to help in a little way, and it's kind of crazy. Like, people, I don't know, worry that no one wants to be out there, no one wants to help you, and you know, it's like a scarcity mentality. Like, oh, if they're winning, I'm losing. It's like, everyone can fucking win if you want to. If you're, and I think everyone should win, and that's what I want. I want, you know, especially in my hometown, first of all, Leeds, and I want people to thrive and grow. There's so much talent here, but a lot of it's been held back because of limiting beliefs and stuff. And so many good people, but nobody reaching out to people. And there's so many people who could help people, like, seriously catapult with just a few words of advice on things, you know. And so many people doing good things, like King Kobe and all those kind of people in Leeds. There's loads I could mention who are doing great stuff. And as a collaboration, there's so much power in this city. But again, people are sat there going, oh, I don't want to say anything because, oh, you know, what if he says no? You know what I mean? But even if someone does, so what? There's someone else, you know. There's nearly 1 million people in Leeds. I mean, 700,000 people or something silly, I don't know. But it's a massive city, you know. Second largest financial city. It's, you know, there's shit going down, and it's inner beliefs that's holding us back. And half of the time, you think these people, maybe, you know, guys, if you're out there listening to this, you sat in your bedroom now, listen to it. It's just you in your bedroom and lost with your thoughts. Nobody knows that you're thinking this out there. And until you can overstep that and then get out there and actually tell people and let your dream come alive. I want to start this business and I've got this idea to sell these cool little pot plants or something, you know what I mean? And I need some help with it, and I don't know where to manufacture them, and I don't know how to do this, but get it out there. You know, reach out to somebody and just invest in yourself, and that's it. And people are scared to do that, and that's where I come in, I suppose. But yes, you can achieve anything that you want. You know, you guys are doing a cracking job here, and I'm sure you're going to go into greatness, set the world alight. Just do it. Think massive. That's what I'd say. Just go for it.
You know, that's a great point what you say, like investing in yourself. You know, most people, well, a lot of people out there in that Instagram world that we live in, well, we want a big car, want a nice house, but, you know, start small, like.
But they want it for nothing.
Right?
They want it for nothing. They've
There's
got entitlement.
No substance behind why.
But they want it for other people, which is kind of, that's the scary thing, isn't it? Like, they want to get something, buy it, post it to show other people.
Yes.
So you didn't buy it for you. You bought it for fucking Instagram or 100 likes.
But this is why so many people are unfulfilled. This is why so many people are down and depressed, or whatever words you use. I don't even like using that word. I won't set anything off. I won't say anything controversial. But you've got to have fulfillment. Do you know what I mean? You've got to have purpose. You've got to have a why. You've got to have a raison d'etre, as I call it. You know, reason for being. Right? You've got to have a thing. that drives us as human beings. We want to be achieving and doing things and moving forward, even if it's a small way, even if it's, I just want to be the best mom in the world. I want to be, do you know what I mean? You've got to have something. And if you haven't, you've got no fulfillment. And life if you're not fulfilled, you haven't got fulfillment. And if you haven't got fulfillment, you're bored, right? And that's why a lot of people are bored. That's why now a lot of people have got a sedentary lifestyle. A lot of people are just sat at home watching TV. You think about a lot of, I don't know what the figures are because I don't think they'll have done a test on it, but massive amounts of people in this country or in most first world countries, they get up in the morning, they've been laid down for 8 hours. They get up in the morning, they go to work. Most people go to work on a bus or in a car. They're sat down. They get to work, they sit down, unless they're in retail and they're walking about, but they're sat down. Then they come back on that bus or car, and then they come home, they eat their dinner on the settee, and unless there's someone who goes to the gym regular, they sit on the settee, they watch TV for 5 hours or something, then they go to bed and lay down for 8. It scares me to think how long some people are sedentary. It's frightening. So when your state has a big influence on your behavior. So if your state, your natural state is one of, for those people who are just listening and can't see us, is just one of like shoulders hunched and sat down and just watching TV and being very slow, right? Your bloodstream slows down, your heart rate isn't moving because it doesn't need to, it's just, you just sat down. So everything is sedentary in your life and it affects your mindset. You can't be go-getting and powerful and ambitious if your natural state is like sedentary, right? So you have to change state. You have to get your shoulders back, get your chin up, 2-inch rule, just push it up a bit, right? And you suddenly feel a bit different. And that's it. And then get up, jump up and down, do some exercise, do something, get yourself going, and then think about what it is you want to achieve in life at the same time as you're doing that. And you'll find things come to you a lot better than they do when you just sat down going, I'd love to open a florist. And then you get your eye caught by the telly or something and it's gone again, So it's one of them.
Yeah, man. Big message on it. Just find something you're passionate about and stick to it and go for it. And that's it. That's what we were saying about the podcast. It was one of those things like I sat in this house and I was like, let's do a podcast. And it's like, all right. And I look back now and I sit some days and I wonder like, what the fuck would I do on my Fridays or whatever if I weren't podcasting or doing shit? Like, what the fuck would I be doing? And
not just Fridays, because I'm sure that this then takes up your mind throughout the week. Who we getting in? What about chasing up people and equipment, changing the equipment and upgrading, getting better and bigger and different ideas and all this stuff that we talked about before as well. So it's taking up your whole week. So it's giving you purpose. And this is what I'm saying. So you're fulfilled because of it. So when you go into work, even if you have a bad day at work, you've got something else. You're fulfilled. And that's where a lot of people are going wrong. And a lot of people come to me. Some people say to me, when you asked before, what's one of the big things people have, not just on limiting beliefs, so one of the other big things they have is they're lost. They'll come to me and just send me messages and say, do you know what? I'm just lost. And I go, what do you want to do? And they go, I don't know. No, right. And they haven't got a clue. They're lost. They're lost in a relationship, or they're lost in business. They're lost in life. They're just twigging the stream. They're just bored. And they just change the word for lost, but it's boredom. It's just nothing. That's why we need, as human beings, fulfillment. We need to be driven. We need to be growing. We need to be doing something. If a plant's not growing, what's it doing?
It's dying.
It's dying, right? So we're plants, really. That's all. So we need to be growing. We need to be doing stuff. A lot of people say and believe, at first they think, leave school and everything, and they get a job and they work, and they say, do you know what? If I could just get to like middle management, earn 35, 40k and car, wife, kid, and I'll be happy then. And then they get there, and guess what? They're not happy. There's something missing. They go, oh, I need something else. And that's when, like you said before, they get to 55 and they go, fuck, And it happened to me, years went on and started to bug me more and more that I wanted to do this because this is fulfilling for me. And even though I earned a fraction of what I was earning before for the first couple of years, I didn't care because I was on a mission. I was driven. I want to help people. I wanted to help people overcome the limiting beliefs I had. So I was driven. I loved it. I didn't care, but I had a mission. I had to earn money quick because the missus would have kicked me out after a while. She'd have been like, listen, I can't support you forever, right? But fulfillment is key. And now I'm super happy doing what I'm doing. I'm happiest I've ever been in my life. And, even when I was earning 60 odd K and I was head of call centre and I had 400 staff underneath me at Co-op Group and I was doing great, that doesn't even touch this. When I get messages from people saying you changed my life and you've done this, and the business people who were struggling and now they're firing, relationships that were heading for divorce and properly going down the pan, and then when you work with them both and you turn it round and now they're happily married and everything's going great and it's only fantastic. To me, that's fulfillment. That's it. Now I want to take that on and take it even further. I want to write a book. I want to touch the lives of 1 million people through podcasts like this and books and online coaching and whatever else. And I want to open a charitable foundation for young people to help them overcome those limiting beliefs and teach them about mindfulness and just how to get on in life and stuff that school just doesn't teach you. When do you learn how to run a credit card? What's APR?
Nah. We have this. Yeah. We say this all the time. Like, I fucked up on phone contracts, fucking cars, this, that, the other, and finance. That financial literacy is. I did. No one cares. No one wants to teach you, and that was the thing. Like, from my back, I am more than any member of my family, and I'm 28. They can't teach me anything about money. I have to go out there and talk to people that are going to teach me. And that was one of the reasons why we started this podcast, was because how can we educate our younger selves? How can we go and get people in that would have taught us a lesson that we needed back then? And if it helps anyone listening to it, that's enough for me.
That's fulfillment, isn't it, guys? And then also it covers your fulfillment because you're giving back. So there's 6 human needs, and one of them is growth, and then there's contribution. They're like your spiritual needs. They're like your main. When you've covered the other 4, they're the top 2 that you're aiming for. And contribution is what you guys are doing. You're giving back already, so you're getting fulfillment from that, but you're growing at the same time. You're getting better and you're growing, and hopefully you make money as well, and you'll start to develop so you can do this on a bigger scale and give back even more. And that's what it's about for me, and that's what it's about, helping people to achieve and do, and and that's why I'll do these podcasts and things like that, because the message gets out further, and it hopefully touches somebody who might be listening to it and feeling in a bit of a lost place or a bad place and thinks, I'm ready now to commit and to drive myself to that next level, because I only work with winners. I work with people who really want to do it, because there's a lot of people, I call them tire kickers, like when they're buying cars and they just want to have a look, but they're not buying. There's a lot of people out there who talk the talk and they go, yeah, I want to change and that, but they don't want to change. There's a lot of people, and again, maybe social media or whatever, but there's a lot of people, unfortunately, out there who like the idea of change, but they don't want to work. And that's, to me, utopia. Anybody who's listening to this right now, if that's you, shit's not going to happen. I'm sorry. Do you know what I mean? No one's ever going to knock on your door and go, do you know what? You seem a really nice person. We've had a whip round in the city and there's £1 million here. Chill out and go do your thing. It's not going to happen. Feeling sorry for yourself, it's not going to help. When I went bankrupt and lost everything, and I mean everything, had to get a car financed by my mum to get a car to get me around and all this, right? No, but I whinged with the best of them. I could whinge and bleep, felt sorry for myself and everything, but guess what? No, nothing happened. Shit didn't change, right? Nobody knocked on the door, nobody bailed me out until I made a decision. I've had enough now. The pain of change overcome the pain of staying the same. And I said, right, I've got to do things different. And even now, I'm always stretching and forcing myself. I've invested over £40,000 in myself in 18 months in learning and growing. I've got a new coach that costs an absolute fortune. He's based in Australia, and that's investing in growth. I could have just sat back and said, I'm doing great, I'll just chill. But I want to be bigger, I want to be better, I want to learn more so I can help even more people who are like me. Especially, my passion is people in business, small business, medium-sized business, and individuals who just want to get to that next level. and I want to help them, and the only way to do that is to be a better version of me, so I know more and I can understand more and help them on their journey better. And you know, because most people I work with, it's quite a long period of time, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. Some people I've worked with on and off for 3 years. Just keep growing and developing, so I need to grow and develop as well. I need to learn more and know more so I can help more people.
No, that's a big message. On that note, we're coming towards the end of our podcast.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you, what are some simple things that people can add to their life today to start creating a better mindset for themselves? I know you hear people like Jordan Peterson say, you know, wake up early, make your bed the first thing that you do when you get up. Like you said, exercise 3 times a week. What are some of these things that people can do?
They're all great things, and everybody kind of knows them. You know, there's nothing mind-blowing I'm going to tell you. You know, fundamentally, it's the stuff that you know, but can you do it? You know, that's more of the question is, can you do it? Get up, and it's not a case of getting up early because I had to go against anyone who's more successful than Jordan Peterson and Bailu and Tony Robbins and all that. You know, Robin Sharma, the 5 a.m. Club and all that stuff. And I've read the book, it's fantastic. And the psychology behind it and everything. You know, getting up early isn't hard, isn't the problem, right, for people. The bit that people forget is to go into bed. You know, you need to go to bed on time. Getting up at 5 a.m. is only hard because everyone goes to bed at 12, you know. That's the issue. So you've got to look at your nighttime routine and think, right, what am I doing? And what I would say to people, if you just want to give yourself a bit of a kickstart, is on the evening, plan for the morning, you know. And I've got a chapter of an ebook, a little chapter of a book of my book I'm writing that I'm sort of giving away. If any of the listeners want to ping me a message, I'm happy to send them a PDF of it. But I call it 5 in 5, 5 simple steps in over 5 days to kickstart your morning. And it is stuff like get up, do some exercise, all that sort of stuff. But it gives you the psychology behind it and understanding why you're doing it and all the rest of it. And if you did that, you'd have a great start to the day. But the main thing I'd say is plan your day on an evening, and very quickly. It doesn't have to be difficult, because if it's difficult, remember what I said, the brain wants to avoid pain and go towards pleasure. So if it's difficult, the brain goes, psst, footy's on, forget that shit. Do you know what I mean? And you won't do it. Literally, couple of sentences, 2 wins of the day for tomorrow. What are the 2 wins of the day? If I get these 2 things done, my day's been okay. So it might be, friggin' send that email that you've been putting off for 5 days. Just send it. Get it done. It could be simple stuff like that. Could be hoover up. You know, tidy that drawer up that's been bugging you for ages because you can hardly shut it now because it's rammed. Or it might be something big. Apply for that job. Start that business. Google and get some information. Actually start it. Send an email about it. Do something that is the catalyst for change, right? Because decisions is the catalyst for change, but you've got to make a decision. But you haven't truly made a decision till you've made an action that goes with it. And it can be a simple one. So you decide, I'm going to set up that business, but what you do is you've got to follow it up with an immediate action. You've got to say, right, I'm going to start that business, but right, what am I going to do? Okay, I'm going to email so-and-so who's going to start printing up cards or make an appointment with a web developer. So now you've made a decision, and it sets off things in the brain, a neurochemical reaction that says, wow, shit's happening. And it starts then, I call it like the radar, and it starts looking for people, places, things, resources that are going to help you to achieve what you want to achieve, because now you're thinking about it. But if you're sat on the settee with your feet up watching Corrie or whatever, and you go, I'm going to start that business, and then you get back into Corrie, that shit's gone. Right? Because it's painful, so the brain just forgets it. But once you start it, the brain goes, all right, okay, what else you could do is this. Okay? And it just builds and goes from there. So I'd say, start small, don't overwhelm yourself, because that's one of the main words I get from clients. I'm overwhelmed, right? On the evening, literally, what are my 2 wins of the day tomorrow? That's it. 2 big wins of the day tomorrow. It doesn't have to be big, I mean 2 wins of the day. And if you do that every day, there'll always be 2 things that you'll say, I've got to get that done. And no matter how much you've got to get done, get that done. And you'll start to see your life change from there.
Boom. That's a great message. Well, thank you for coming on.
It's been awesome. It's been great, guys.
I want you to come back in already, man.
Yeah,
I could keep going.
There's loads.
Yeah, we'll get you back in for sure.
If people want to find your socials, they want to get in contact with you, they want to work with you, where can they go?
I'm all over them. I'm all over all of them. LinkedIn, Facebook, Insta, Twitter, Snapchat. I'm on it all. Just at Rob Latty, ROBLATTI on Instagram, and it's my name as usual on Facebook, Robert Lattibeaudiere. But if you just put Robert Latty in, you'll find it. And same with LinkedIn, Insta.
No, definitely we'll put that in the bio as well for people to find.
Got the links below.
Thanks again.
It's been awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming, mate.
Super stoked to be here. It's been great.